You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
Every week we get our version of Siskel and Ebert. It's David Samson from Nothing Personal with David Samson and Adnan Virk of the MLB Network. And they regale us.
And Cinephile.
And Cinephile.
Oh boy, Cody.
And they regale us with their takes on cinema and rank top 5 lists for various categories. We're going to do that in a second, but first we want to start on a somber note. Adnan, the passing of Johnny Gaudreau, who passed away, him and his brother, in an accident. They were on bicycles, correct?
Correct. Hit by a drunk driver. Johnny Gaudreau, a terrific hockey player, and, I always talk on Calgary radio every week, so I have a real affinity for the Flames. Because of that, I keep in, tabs on what's happening. 9 years, Gaudreau was awesome with the Flames, and he had a couple of great breakout seasons. And once he was available as a free agent, everyone said, oh my God, he could be a transformative presence. And a lot of thought was because he's from New Jersey, could sign with the Devils or the Flyers, the team that I root for. Instead, he goes to Columbus, played there for the last couple of seasons. He was back home in New Jersey for his sister's wedding, which was to take place this weekend. And he and his brother were cycling and hit by a drunk driver. And it was absolutely stunning news to hear that they both have passed away. And I got the news alert last night, and I was in shock. I'm like, what happened to Johnny Gaudreau? He's a young man, still in the prime of his life, married, children, all the rest of it. But yet another example of a drunk driver taking a life way too soon. Of course, thoughts and prayers to the Gaudreau family. Terrific hockey player and a wonderful guy.
Yes, thoughts and prayers and condolences to the Gaudreau family. We were talking... This is an abrupt transition because there's no way you can do this and then be smooth about it. But we were talking about Rich Hill going back to the Red Sox for the 4th time. And
Dick Mountain.
Yes.
Attaboy, Adnan.
Thank you, Adnan.
There he is.
David, I'm curious, was there ever a player that you guys brought back multiple times, and why?
I'd have to go back and think. You basically get them at different stages of their career. Rich Hill now... You can't be part of a postseason, but neither can the Red Sox. And he can give them innings, and he really wants to keep going. And it's a nice story. They certainly know him. We used to, as a GM or president, when there's someone you know what they'll be like in the clubhouse, you're apt to give them a job when you have depth needs versus someone else who you don't know, even if you think they could be incrementally better in a role or in a time of the year that it doesn't matter. So the comfort of Rich Hill is really probably what gave him a chance.
It raises the larger question in life, David, and in baseball. Yes, you want the most talented guy, but if talent is relatively equal, we'll take the guy who's a good guy. And Rich Hill, yeah, he's serviceable. He'll get a few guys out. Sure, why not?
I feel like it is a uniquely baseball thing. Like guys in the NBA and the NFL sometimes come back for a second go around, but like the baseball thing where guys keep coming back, it's almost like good enough to want, not good enough to keep. And I get what you're saying, David. Is like you have him at first and he's a star player, and then he comes back and now he's a relief, and then you come back and you just need a good vet in the clubhouse or whatever. But you rarely see that kind of transition back and forth in the other main sports.
Well, often they just stay. I mean, isn't it possible that Udonis Haslem is that?
Yes.
Where he had a chance to just stay on the bench when he really was an assistant coach?
Yes.
He wasn't worthy of a spot?
Well, I'm not going to say he wasn't worthy.
Of course he was worthy.
He's worthy. It's a culture. The culture's right there. Is it any wonder they get bounced in the first round the first year?
Today's show is going to make me lose my mind, I think.
Jeremy's having a rough
Between
show.
the bounce house and now slander of Udonis Haslem.
Let me ask them.
Can't take it.
Have either of you guys been to University of Central Florida?
This is really these two?
Yeah, I'm going to
We're going to ask these guys about UCF football stadium. Thank you, Blake Bortles. All right.
The only thing I can tell you about UCF is that I'm not sure why, but Jesse Palmer told me when he worked with Reese Davis, when they went to UCF one time, they kept seeing fans saying with signs saying, "What do you think about that?" Like as if their school was underappreciated. To this day, if you hear Reese Davis or Jesse Palmer mention UCF, they always say, "What do you think about that?" That's my contribution to UCF culture.
Same energy still.
The only thing I know about UCF is their stadium stinks. Other than that, I don't know anything.
I'm leaving. What do you think about that?
Gentlemen, what's the top 5
David
list?
knew what he was doing there. He was watching earlier.
Oh, stop it, Chris. He just walked in right now. What are you guys ranking for us today?
Well, today, you may not know this. It's Cameron Diaz's 52nd birthday.
Wow.
And I'd like to just take a moment and say, how the hell is Cameron Diaz 52 years old?
Wow.
I'm not saying that's old. I'm just saying it's older than I would have expected Cameron Diaz to be.
Right age. Perfect age.
But it depends. Happy birthday, Cameron. And I think we should do, in her honor, a top 5 all-time Cameron Diaz movies.
All right. I'm with it.
First, we're going to do this.
Happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
Thank you, Chris.
The Madden family cares. No,
Is that an
nobody.
OI?
No, Madden?
Oh,
nobody?
is
I
that
thought there was a movie called The Madden Family Cares.
Something about Mary.
Talking about John Madden?
No, she's married to a Madden.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Get with it, Amin.
I did not know that.
From Good Charlotte.
Maybe I'm wrong.
The guy with the face.
You got the duck, you got the turkey, it's a turducken.
No. She's married to one and Nicole Richie's married to the other, right?
Chris, I want you to clip that for Suey's next year. Best limited fake. Adnan Virk as John Madden. Or is Adnan Virk as
Frank
Frank
Caliendo
as John Madden? There you go. All right. David, how about you lead us off?
Let's go number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah.
Oh, jeez.
Hallelujah.
Today.
Hallelujah. Shrek, baby.
Great selection, David.
Best Suey
Great
nominee.
movie. I've watched it inside the stadium at UCF. Number 4, Vanilla Sky. It's a movie that people don't understand, but if you love Cameron Crowe, you love Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise,
yeah.
go watch Vanilla Sky. You won't be sorry. Number 3, did anyone use hair gel the same after There's Something About Mary? It changed an industry in a way that we've not seen maybe in any other movie. Top 5 industry-changing moments for a product. There's Something About Mary and hair gel. That's number 3.
Shout out to Brett Favre.
He was in that.
Yep.
Or not.
Number 2, he gave all the money to Mississippi. Number 2, The Holiday.
Oh, come on.
Great flick. Great flick.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Every December.
Make fun of me all you want, but if you don't get emotional watching The Holiday with Jude Law, Kate Winslet, Jack Black, and Cameron Diaz,
To be,
what are you doing?
How adorable are Kate Winslet and Jack Black in that movie? The chemistry that they have together is just amazing.
Now, I just want to clarify. David gets emotional for The Holiday, but not
sentimental
for
claptrap.
his kids going to college.
Listen, I can't say I'm perfect. I can only tell you that fact is true. But if you want to know the number 1 movie for Cameron Diaz that I've watched more than a dozen times, What Happens in Vegas. Now, before you criticize that choice, Ashton Kutcher, it's about 2 people who meet in Vegas. They're both down on their luck. The late, great Treat Williams has not been very nice to his son. Ashton Kutcher goes to Vegas. Cameron Diaz gets broken up by a geek and goes to Vegas. They meet. They have the night of their lives, Hangover style. They get married, and then Dennis Miller is their judge as they try to get divorced.
So bad.
And guess what? It may end with them together, but it is
shocking.
So good. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. We
Wait
did
to
it.
see.
We did it on Cinephobe, episode 96.
Nice.
I phobed it. That movie's terrible. But Rob Corddry and Lake Bell are great in it, so I'll give you that. That's your
Shout
number
out to
1.
Dennis. I do love Dennis Miller. Samson may have sold me with the appearance of Dennis Miller, so I may just check it out just for that scene. But I'll take.
Wait, you've never seen the movie?
I've never seen What Happens in Vegas, and you've seen it a dozen times.
I would encourage you, not with your kids, to watch What Happens in Vegas.
Right?
It couldn't be more of just like a rom-com.
It's just straight down the middle rom-com.
I like the facts argument. We'll do the combo. I'll watch it, then I'll listen to Phobe.
There you go.
I'll see why David loves it, and I'll see what Amin says. All right, number 5, Gangs of New York.
That's number 5.
Cameron Diaz and Leonardo DiCaprio comparing scars. She plays Jenny Everdeen, who's a Filch. And, of course, you've got the Titanic performance of Daniel Day-Lewis. I took the father, now I'll take the son. You tell young Balin I'm going to paint paradise with his blood. 2 coats.
Has there ever been a list you've done without Scorsese?
No, listen, that's an underrated movie. Gangs of New York.
That's a great one. And then what won the Oscar that year? Because I thought that was going to win Best Picture, and it didn't.
It was thought to be a meeting. Got 10 Oscar nominations, and The Pianist. Chicago. Chicago won Best Picture.
Oh, come on, you get
that's even worse. A musical.
A musical.
All right, continue.
You guys continue to just break my heart.
Number 4, Any Given Sunday. Amidst Oliver Stone's bombast and testosterone, you're going to have one strong female character. That's Cameron Diaz playing the owner, challenging Pacino. Where is your heart, Tony? Where is your fight? Any Given Sunday. It's ridiculous and preposterous, but it's more entertaining than you might realize. Any Given Sunday is number 4.
The most preposterous is that Cameron Diaz would be an owner.
No, not at all, because she's the daughter of the owner. She inherits the team. That's what happened.
Yeah. Number 3, Smoking. It's The Mask. I'm shocked that David did not have The Mask.
Me too.
I mean, this was Cameron Diaz's coming out party. But hello, red dress, The Mask. No one's arguing with that. Number 2, Being John Malkovich.
Yes.
One of the strangest, craziest movies of the 90s and one of my favorites. It's sublimely original. She's in love with John Cusack, who's a puppeteer. He finds a portal where you go into Being John Malkovich, and then she realizes she's a transsexual, and she's attracted to Catherine Keener, and so is Cusack. But she wants to go in the portal and be Malkovich and get with Keener. It's crazy. It's bizarre. At one point, Cusack locks her in a cage with her own chimp. Brilliant performance by Cameron Diaz. Very much against type. Being John Malkovich.
Boy, you really sold that one. People are running out to watch Being John Malkovich now.
Malkovich! And number 1, like David said, I mean, hair gel has never been the same. We got a bleeder! There's Something About Mary. Iconic performance from Cameron Diaz. Unforgettable. Should have been nominated for an Oscar. Great film.
David, why was it absurd that Cameron Diaz would be a owner?
Yeah, David.
Because I'm happy that you can walk me into that, Roy. And I'm just saying that when Cameron Diaz walks in the room with Al Pacino and tries to exert what is normally the power play between an owner and a coach, she did not have the gravitas that is required when Amy Adams walks into a room as the owner of I was going to say the Oilers, but it's going to be the Titans. That is a room that she commands. To me, Cameron Diaz did not command a room.
I couldn't disagree more. Guys, I got my version of the list real quick here. My OLI is it's my number 5. I got straight to number 5.
I was so confused. I thought Amy Adams, the actress, owned one of these teams now, and then I was trying to figure out what movie we're talking about, and then I realized Amy Adams is a business person and an actress.
Me too. I thought she was the owner, like that movie with Kevin Costner with the Browns. And
we all went there. I thought he was like
90% of people thought we were talking about the
like Trouble in the Street.
All right, here we go. My number 5. I can't believe you guys didn't mention this one. Bad Teacher.
I thought about it. Seth Rogen.
I like that movie.
That's
Justin Timberlake.
That's the only argument you have. That's the only argument you need, Sean. Number 4, being John Malkovich.
Nice.
Number 3, The Mask.
Yes. Good
Number
list.
2, Gangs in New York. She did an accent.
Yeah.
And number 1, it's not Shrek. It's Shrek 2. Better movie.
Ooh, no.
Way better movie.
Not even
2 was
close.
amazing. It went Shrek 2.
Shrek 2. Once the number 1 selling DVD of all time. Thank you, guys.
It smells like football. It smells like football. I forgot what these smelled like. But now we're back. Back into the rituals of me sitting on the couch, 7 straight commercial-free hours of football. One ritual that deserves to be added to that full list of priorities is daily hydration. Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier Plus Energy delivers 100 milligrams of natural caffeine plus 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. And they've combined their popular peach flavor with highly requested blackberry to awaken your senses and keep you coming back for more. Guys, you know I talk about Liquid IV all the time. Sugar-free lemon lime, number 1 in the Cloutier household. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than with water alone. Start a new fall ritual with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code DAN at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code DAN, D-A-N, at liquidiv.com.
Don Batard.
Oh, I like firing people. So I take the opportunity to fire whenever I possibly can because I can use it as a learning experience for them and try to help them out and try to point out what they did wrong. But in this case, the employee was enough levels below where I was that I did not do the firing, but I had it done within moments of discovery.
I
love the idea.
I like firing people. It's just absurd. It's absurd.
Stugotz.
I'm talking about people who I fire who deserve it, who have done something that actively requires me to fire them. It is my unadulterated pleasure to do so.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I'm forever fascinated by the ability of people to get out of things they don't want to do at work. Whether it's Stugotz and his lacrosse mitzvahs, or Stugotz and his dead tours, or Stugotz and the
WFAN.
They got to go up to New York. Well, it's just the idea that I'm going to do whatever it takes to legitimize the reason why I just don't want to do this. Brandon Aiyuk, you, sir, are a prince among us. Hold out. This offer is insulting. You guys need to trade me somewhere else. Trade talks with other teams. And then yesterday, the news comes out. Signs a new deal for exactly the same money that they offered at the beginning of this whole shit.
Heady play.
It has to be that, right? It can't be like he overvalued himself and then realized, wow, whatever, and now comes back with hat in hand. This is just, I didn't want to do training camp.
I mean, it's not like he's an older guy, though, or like a lineman. He's banging it. Like, I feel like, is training camp that crazy for wide receivers?
Yes, man. Like, you think training camp is easy?
I think of more older players that are like, man, I just want to get out of training camp. It seems like he wanted to get money and there was maybe not the market that he thought.
No. Nobody likes doing training camp. Maybe your first one, you're excited, you're a rookie. But, like, he's been around long enough. I know it. I know what we're doing, guys. I know what we're doing. I don't want to do any of this.
Based on like the reports, it seemed like there was never really much back and forth also. Like it didn't seem like either side from what I read really had a plan. It was just like, oh, here's the deal. And then it's like, well, I don't want that. And then it was just a lot of like nothing happening. And then there was like maybe attempts at trade and like, nah, we don't like that. And I'm like, okay. And then everyone's just waiting around because no one really had something else that they wanted to ask for, whatever. And then they came back and like, so you want this? And like, okay.
You ever had this one like someone, hey, what do you want to get to eat? And it's
I don't know. What do you want?
I don't know.
That. And then you say something like, no, not that. And you say something else, no, not that. Well, do you have a suggestion? No, not really. And so we just sit around, we're doing this thing, and then finally like, hey, you want to go back to the first thing I said? Like, all right, fine. And it's like, what did we do all this for? We could have been We could have been done this. And in Brandon Aiyuk's case, I feel like he just didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do He didn't want to do camp.
My dad, inexplicably, anytime he hates that. Like, get into the car. Where do you guys want to go? He for some reason calls that Who Shot John.
What? Instead of Who Shot JR?
He's just like, why are we playing Who Shot John?
Is he trying to do Who Shot JR?
I don't know. I actually just looked it up because I was like, I hope this isn't like an offensive reference that my dad does. But it isn't. Like, nothing on the internet popped up.
Well, Who Shot JR was a big deal in the 80s.
Maybe. It was like, who do you think did it? I don't know. Who do you think did it?
But there was a television show in the 80s called Dallas. It was like a nighttime soap opera kind of drama, whatever. And one of the seasons, they ended with like the main character who's a real son of a bitch named JR. He gets shot. And it was a big question, like, who shot him? And so everyone all summer long went crazy trying to figure out who shot JR. And then it turned out it was like,
I could call my dad and ask him, but that might not have a good payoff.
And then The Simpsons did a parody of that with Mr. Burns.
Yes.
He's always like, can we not play Who Shot John? It's like, why are you calling it that?
I'm 98% sure.
I think he's saying it wrong. Yeah.
He's saying it wrong. He's not making a reference or creating his own thing. He's saying that one wrong.
It's like, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want.
I think we call him.
That's the thing. It's like, I know I don't want Outback. I know I don't want Chili's. I just don't know what I want, but I know I don't want those.
But then you end up going to Outback.
Yeah.
And you have
you know what? I like the bread.
And you have a ball. All right, that's the part that.
Hold on.
Oh, we're getting Greg on the line here.
Hey, Dad, you're on the main show.
I'm driving.
Okay. He's headed down to Key West, by the way. Nice. Classic Greg Cody weekend.
Putting his business out there.
Yeah, I guess maybe I shouldn't have done that. Anyways, Dad, why do you, when we're in a car looking for a restaurant and you're like, why is it called Who Shot John, that game of what do you want to eat?
Honestly, I am not sure the origin of that.
Okay.
If you Google the phrase, I don't know whether it even applies, but in the context I use it.
No, we know the context. I set that part up. Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah. So I don't know the answer. You know, it's just one of those like catch can. You know, who knows where that comes from?
That kind of thing.
Greg, this is a mean. I just want to know, is it?
And you know it.
Thank you. Greg, is it because you're messing up Who Shot JR?
No, it's a phrase.
I don't know. Who Shot JR? I think predates or came after me saying Who Shot.
Oh,
JR.
wow.
You know, I may have invented the phrase Who Shot JR. I don't know.
Okay, good work, Eddie.
Thanks, Greg. That, ladies and gentlemen, is content. So this will be a great nominee for Best Story next year, right? That Greg Cody asserts that he is the inventor of the term Who Shot Blank, and the show Dallas stole that from him.
And then Biggie stole it after.
That checks out.
And The Simpsons stole it
And The
after.
Simpsons. Yeah, I like it. It's a great story. But let's listen to the best stories of the last year. It's the Suey nominees for Best Story. Oh, man.
All right, stalling.
Shot John has multiple meanings.
Is it buffering?
It says here on the internet, according to Google AI. Did I stall long enough for you?
And now the Suey nominees for Best Story. Amin El-Hassan gets recognized by a fan.
Cars are whizzing past. I got to make sure that John Reed doesn't get hit by a car because he's filming me walking backward across the street. And I'm really worried about this, right? Chris says, hey, Amin, you can come back now. I said, I know. I've been walking this whole time, walking back to the Elser. That's how far this thing was. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is at one of these intersections where I'm waiting for these cars to go by so I can cross the street. A car comes down, and as it's coming by, I see them roll their windows down. And the person driving leans over to the passenger side, to the side where I'm at, starts waving and says, Bomani!
Oh, no.
Pablo Torre misses Messi's first goal for Inter Miami because he was eating chicken fingers.
You miss Messi's first goal for a chicken tender. Chicken tender.
On my badge, it said Field Suite. And I said to myself, I'm a veteran of this game. There's going to be stuff there. And I get there, and I don't eat it, and I go outside to see the beginning of the game. I tell Chris, when are you breaking the seal? Chris informs me he already broke his seal. He's already eaten. And at that point, I'm like...
It was an awkward thing where there weren't a lot of people eating.
So no one was eating there.
You had that awkward feeling of like, can I or can't I?
No one was eating because the match had started.
In no way is Leo Messi just going to come out here and immediately score another goddamn goal. Of course, I would have enough time to grab a chicken tender because I hosted 4 hours of goddamn radio today and haven't eaten. And instead... what I witnessed through the glass, smudged by the 100-degree humidity, is a scene unfolding, and then I burst through the door and saw Chris Cody already with his phone out, pointed at me, laughing at the fact that I had missed actual history.
Billy Gill's TSA story.
So I'm going through like TSA pre-check, right? And, the stuff goes through the x-ray machine. You know how sometimes it goes off on like a different thing and they have to start like looking through it. So this bag goes off on a different side and I'm like getting my stuff, minding my own business, whatever. And then the TSA agent is going to check the bag. He's like, whose bag is this? Whose bag is this? Whatever, right? And then a woman's like, oh, it's mine. And he looks at her with a straight face and he goes, are you a child trafficker? and she goes, no. And I'm like taken aback because I'm like, hold on. Like,
yes, would have been a wild answer.
Well, no, because I'm like,
yeah, who would say yes?
No, he's like, are you a child trafficker? And I was like, oh my God. And in my head, I'm like, did a kid show up on that x-ray? Like, what? Why would you ask that question? And then he looks at her and he looks at her stomach and he goes, you sure?
Oh, no.
And then it was because she was pregnant. She goes, oh, yeah, I'm expecting blah, blah, blah. But that's how he asked. Are you a child trafficker?
Dude.
And then went like this. When she said no, he goes,
He was like, "That's what a child trafficker would say."
That's what's worse
That's
than
exactly
a dad.
what
That's
they
worse
said.
than a dad joke.
The
wildest joke ever.
Ron McGill's Gorilla Sting.
We worked with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency to actually do a sting operation on a guy by putting a guy in a gorilla suit. We put him in a cage. We put him in a gorilla cage because this guy was trying to buy a gorilla illegally. And he came to one of us at the zoo, and we, of course, notified the authorities. No, I'm making this up. This is true. We put an agent in a gorilla suit.
Did he arrest him? Did the guy in the suit arrest him? Did he whip off the head?
We put him in his cage, like, okay, you're going to buy this gorilla illegally. We're going to get it. You got to come pick it up in the middle of the night. We put a bunch of gorilla poop in with this guy, so it stunk like a gorilla and everything. And yes, as soon as the guy came, gave the money, exchanged to the agent, the guy in the gorilla suit opened the cage, and they arrested the guy.
David Samson clogged a stranger's toilet during a marathon.
What's the oddest place you've pooped while running a marathon?
It was right before the New York Marathon, and where you are staged is a Army base. And I actually went into someone's house who was in the Army.
It was a veteran? Oh, my God.
No, an active Army, like
what are you
general.
doing?
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Lucy, you're
and
mortified.
It ended up clogging, and it flooded, and I ran. I didn't leave a note, and I think about it to this day, that poor person coming back after volunteering for the New York Marathon, and what I left that person with.
He comes home.
Who shit in my toilet?
He's right. Who shit in my toilet? What communist shit in my toilet?
Here's a little nugget, Dan. I chose the master bathroom.
Oh, my God. Because it's comfortable.
It was nicer.
What do you mean, why?
You were scoping out the bathrooms of the general's house?
This is an uncommon horror.
Roy Bellamy's hit and run on Billy Gill's car.
Didn't you clip Billy's car once?
He did hit Mike.
What?
It's worse than that. I was borrowing my mother-in-law's car and he crashed into it leaving the garage.
Yeah, because somebody had turned short and I was
That's the
forced to go
story.
to the other side.
Yeah.
So it was their fault?
It just happened to be your car?
He also tried to leave the garage and it was at the bottom of the ramp and I'm like, hey, what are we doing here?
I didn't
He just
try to
crashed into me.
I didn't try to leave.
He was all the way at the bottom of the ramp. I was like, and I was parked at the top of the ramp.
Bottom of the ramp?
Yeah, I never park on the corners anymore on floors because Roy crashed into me.
Taylor Vippolis totaled his car.
I forgot to put the car in park. It rolled off a cliff.
Is that why you scooter everywhere?
Rolled off a cliff?
Yeah. It was on top of my driveway. I lived on like a cliff type setting. And I went to my trunk. You mean a hill? My gym bag.
He lived on a hill.
It was more of a cliff.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
Some people
live on that
Some
cliff.
people do.
You know? So
just not us.
I put the car in park, or so I thought, and I went to the trunk to get my gym bag. And then as I'm going, I could feel the car rolling back, and my we're already out of the car, and there was like a little wooden beam that protected this cliff or this hill, and I was like, okay, the car is just gonna hit the wooden beam, take a little dent, and as I'm thinking that, the car just goes straight through.
Hold on a second.
And rolls off.
You're saying this so
onto the
casually.
street. Yeah, the car got totaled.
It rolled off onto a street, like off the side of a cliff onto a street. Did it hit anything?
No, it didn't hit anything, but everybody was driving by and they were like, why is there a car upside down on the road? Everybody's calling my parents. I'm trying to call them. My mom was like at like a nail appointment and she got her nail appointment finished and she saw she had like 20 missed calls, and I was like, hey, I'm okay. That's how you start
a conversation.
Yes,
I'm okay, but the car is done.
Charlotte Wilder and Jessica Smetana's bizarre first word.
We have a fun fact about first words. Jess and I have the same first word, and it's really strange. 1, 2, 3. Backhoe.
Backhoe?
Yeah, like an excavator.
Yes.
Yeah, that was both of our first words.
It's an odd first word.
Wow. Backhoe?
Charlotte and I found out about our first words in one of the strangest ways possible because we are a few years apart in age, didn't grow up in the same region of the country, never knew each other until our first job together at SB Nation, and we were typing in Slack, having a Slack conversation across the office, and someone brought up first words, and at the same time we both typed into Slack, my first word was backhoe. Wow. And it was so spooky. We both stood up. Yeah, we were on the opposite side of the office.
Shocking.
We didn't know each other.
Brad Penny's Bat Boy milk story.
It was just a bet, and we said, we'll give you, it was me actually, I said, Nick, I'll give you $500 if you can drink this milk and keep it down for an hour. And I mean, it took him to the very last minute to get it down. And I mean, it was hilarious. It was like a stream. I can't even explain to you how hard he threw up.
Please try.
I mean, I can't. It was a good. And it was in the
what kind of exit velocity are we talking on?
Oh,
on that?
big time. I mean, I've never seen anything like it unless it was on like the Exorcist movie.
Yeah, Lodge Angle.
It was unbelievable.
How many heaves? Was it 2, 3 heaves?
Just one long stream.
Whoa, dude! We thought he would die. He could have died. Just on a side note, never mentioned before is the fact that he could have died.
I know this. I know. You were so concerned about that kid dying, you fired him.
Exactly right.
Greg Cody struggles to drive in Ireland. Keep in mind, I'm driving on the wrong side of the car on the wrong side of the road. So I'm not used to it's really discombobulating me. It took days to adjust to the fact that I'm doing the opposite of what we get in the States. And so I want to hug the left side so that I don't head on somebody. And my wife must have said 1,000 times, Greg, move over. You're about to hit a wall. You're about to hit a curb. Greg, move over, move over. And it's just so annoying. And I only hit one wall.
You were hurt.
I drove for 8 days. I hit one wall.
That's one wall.
That's pretty good.
How many did you pass?
100.
Exactly. There you go.
Thank you.
Not even 1%.
Now, I hit a bunch of bushes, though. They have a wall of bushes. And so, yeah, and you're driving and you hear the car go thwap, 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 thwap. Didn't you? It's hitting all these bushes.
Didn't you clip something in a parking garage, too?
Yeah. We had a minor mishap in a parking garage.
Minor.
Jessica's dad almost died in a plane crash.
When I was a baby, my dad was supposed to be on a flight from Chicago to Pittsburgh that crashed and everyone on board died. It was one of the last major commercial airline flight crashes in the United States. But he either changed his flight at the last second or didn't make it on the flight, ended up on a different flight, but my family didn't know that he wasn't on the plane. So we all thought that he died.
What?
Yeah. And then lo and behold, we were in Pittsburgh, and he showed up at my grandparents' house, and that's how we found out that he didn't make it on the plane.
Were you guys sobbing? Like, what
Before
was...
cell phones. Yeah, my mom was like, shit. My mom was like, ooh, I have 2 babies. What am I going to do? Yeah, everyone was freaking out. Everyone was calling my grandparents like, is Mark okay? And they were like, we don't think so. But they didn't have cell phones. They didn't have like a final flight manifest ready until like hours later. So yeah, my family all just thought he was on the plane.
Diana Rossini's son makes an odd request.
My fear is what my son did the other day, which he took my phone and charged. So you know how in Apple Pay, you can charge people and give them money and ask them for money? They charged a very, very respected general manager in the NFL $50 at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's great.
Ethics violation there.
In which that GM, and this is why I will fight for this GM to the day I die, wrote back to me, hey, is everything okay? Do you need money? And I'm
What did Belichick say? I mean...
Is everything okay? He's gonna fall for a scam and then Venmo you $50 because he thinks someone's abducted you at 5 o'clock in the morning.
First thought was like, whatever you need, die. Like, I didn't know it was that bad. Like, you checked on a roster move I made the other day. We went to the last text I sent him was, do you think you probably wound up cutting this guy? And then like 3 days later, it's a $50 charge at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's hard. And I said, so sorry, that was Mikey. And he's like, he wrote back. He's like, is he all right? I'm like, he's fine. He's 2. He doesn't know.
Chris Mad Dog Russo took too many gummies.
Have you ever taken too many gummies, doggy? And you just...
Oh, yeah, I sure have. Steve Torrey, the dope, gave me his share.
Right.
You know, he must be an elephant, but he gave me his last year coming back from the Super Bowl. It hit me when I was about to eat a sandwich and I was about to open up the cabin and fly away. Thank God I fell asleep. That was a weird one. Cut him in half, Steve, for crying out loud. In half. He gave me a full one and I was in La La Land. I took a nap. Thank God I fell asleep. They were out of sandwiches. I ate about 9 billion Oreo cookies.
Double stuffed, right?
No, the double stuffed. You got it right.
I know Steve Torrey. And worked with him at SiriusXM. I had no idea he was an edible guy. How about that?
Strong ones, too.
Strong ones. Like an
Cut him in
elephant.
half.
He's like
That
an
was my
elephant.
terrible fake doggy.
Oh, we had the appetizer last week, but now it's time to feast. College football is back. Don't miss any of the action. Jump in with DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a full slate of games for Week 1, including the big matchup in Atlanta between the preseason number 1 and number 16. Here's a little something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/FTBall.
Dan Le Batard.
Cheaters never prosper.
Stugotz.
I ain't cheating.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Some highlights. Jessica Smetana's mom's reaction to thinking her dad is dead. Like, crap.
I got 2 kids.
Damn. And not like, oh my God, the love of my life. It's like, shit. I got to do this shit now. Also, the disgust in Mike Fuentes' voice.
Oh, he was the star of the entire Suey nominations. It's not even his story.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
God, what is wrong with that guy?
It's not going to win best story because it's a good story. It's a good story.
Car rolling down a hill.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
But that might be best dismissal. That should have been.
You live on a hill.
That is a great dismissal.
I saw photos of said situation, and it's more than there's a cliff aspect to this hill. Like, it's not just like it went rolling down and it hit something. It made a jump off the side of something onto something else. But like, it's maybe if I remember the photo correctly, it was maybe like an 8 to 10 foot fall. But like, it did roll off and then it fell onto something else.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
You know what that reminds me of? That when you're like
you live on a hill part is so dismissive.
When you're in a friend group and there's one of the guys you don't really like that much, and then he's telling a story or whatever, and then all of a sudden that pops, you don't live on a hill. You live on a cliff.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
Nobody lives on a.
But is the friend that we don't like Taylor or Fuentes?
Taylor. Fuentes doesn't like Taylor in the friend group.
Nobody lives on an effing cliff. Because in my mind, I just thought about, he starts the story like, my car rolled off a cliff, my house is on a cliff. I was thinking about like the Mission Impossible cliff that Tom Cruise motorcycles off
Jumps
of.
off, yeah. Which is the
real
real stunt, by the way.
I thought of a house, and then like on the backside is this cliff. And then as he's describing it, like, it sounds more like a hill. And then Fuentes comes in and says.
He wants you to play the clip again.
Yeah.
I was actually grabbing Taylor because Taylor's setup of where he lives is awkward in Mike Fuentes' defense.
On top of my driveway, I lived on like a cliff type setting.
A cliff type setting. That's nothing wrong with that.
I thought of Mission Impossible. The other thing that I thought was, I don't want to taint the voting process. Billy, I think you might have best story, man. I think you might have best story.
The child trafficking. I forgot that story. When I heard it, I was like, this is an adventure. What happened here? I think the craziest part is the risk of that joke, like on many levels. Like there's the child trafficking risk, and then there's also like the risk of, what if this person isn't pregnant? Because thinking back, I now remember not very clearly showing. Like, not 100% certain.
Oh, my God.
It must have been a situation where, like, they said, like, oh, you can't go through the x-ray or something, right? Isn't that a thing?
Oh, maybe.
But there is no X-ray. That's not the
swirly
the
machine.
swirly thing. You can go through that if you're pregnant.
I don't know.
But like the other part of this is, what if she wasn't pregnant?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a risk.
No. What if she wasn't pregnant and she's actually a child trafficker? And she
I
got
think you have to say yes, right? It's like if you ask a cop, are you a cop? They have to say yes.
Yes would have been a wild answer.
Yeah.
If she's just like, yeah, actually. How'd you know?
Like, imagine her, child trafficker. She's like, okay, all I got to do is get through this security and we're home free. And the guy's, boop, ma'am.
Come over here, lady.
Shit. It's like,
see, that's one of those dangerous jokes that, like, in a different setting, you could take to another level, right? Like, if you're her and he says, are you a child trafficker? If she wanted to take the joke to another level, not at TSA, not at an airport, she just dropped her bag and run for it.
Yeah. Like me in Vegas when security came because we spilled water on the ground. No, but I'm just thinking.
What?
Oh, yeah.
You were here, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's kind of like in Superbad when he's looking at McLovin's fake ID. He's like, huh, you're an organ donor.
I just love the idea of her, child trafficker, going, okay, all I got to get through is get home free, whatever.
It's like, excuse me, ma'am?
Ma'am. And he's like, are you a child trafficker? Like, oh, shit, he got me. And, like, starts sweating bullets. And then he says, pregnant, right? And he's like, yes.
Of course.
Yes, I am. And she gets
Super
through.
pregnant.
Yeah. She gets through, and then she goes on her life of child trafficking.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
You live on a hill.
The venom in that clip is amazing.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
I was laughing out loud last night going through the final edit just at Fuentes.
That's a drop, man.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
You live on a hill.
Oh, man. You know
it's so unnecessary.
No, there's an extra. Yeah, there's an extra annoyance and irritation.
Like, this is the final straw for some reason.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
Taylor hasn't been back on Mystery Crate since.
I can see him through the window also defending this take of his, Mike Fuentes.
Because nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
With a big smile, too. I can see him.
That means he did it. You see it. You know he's lying. Yo, so speaking of living on a hill, there's someone who's going to be able to buy a very nice house on the hill, even though there are no hills in Miami. It's Mike McDaniel. You guys see the news? Little extension there.
Oh, the NFL news, Dano. It never stops. According to Jeff Darlington, breaking news. There we go. The NFL news never stops, Dano. According to Jeff Darlington, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel has signed a new contract that extends him through the 2028 season. So a nice little 4-year extension for the boy.
I hope that no one reacts to this story for Darlington, and then we interview Mike McDaniel in a few weeks, and he talks about it, and then it goes viral.
Oh,
and
my
then
God,
Darlington gets mad at us again.
That would be awesome. That would be so incredible. That's not the only extension in the news. Do you guys see about Steph Curry also?
1 year.
1 year, $61
Should I get to the whiteboard?
Love it. What do they mean by that? What does it mean?
Well, it means that Jeremy's wet dream has to defer another year at least.
Was this like an extension for next season or just a year added to his
It's a year
already-
added to his
added to
contract
his
that already
contract.
exists.
So a nothing burger.
Have you seen Steph Curry as a show on Peacock?
Dude, I hear it's good.
Really?
I
saw the commercial for it and I was like,
I was so skeptical, and then a couple of my buddies watched it and like, yo, it's actually like not bad.
How's he on? Ass on, ass off.
He's ass on, but everybody else is a very funny actor. So like everybody else carries the show, and then he's just the one guy who can't act. But it's fine because they carry it comedically.
But he also like acts like an exaggerated version of Steph Curry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he just gives a guy a car. He's like, your daughter wants a birthday? All right, let's try to keep it under 9 figures.
Yeah. He plays an exaggerated version of himself, and it's about his buddy that he went to college with or high school with?
High school with. Well, not even. I guess like based on the age, elementary school. A quick spoiler situation.
You watched this?
I'm like 2 episodes in, so I can give you like the premise of the situation. So he has a friend who was like the greatest player of all time. They were 12-year-olds. Oh my God, this guy had a future. This is the best thing ever. He was so good, so much better than all the other players. He was so much bigger than all the other players. Steph was 12, and Danny was the best player he had ever seen. And then we find out Danny's dad lied about Danny's age, and Danny was 2 years older than everyone else. And then there was scandal in Danny's life.
Like another Danny.
Yeah, and Danny's life has kind of fallen on hard times and fallen off since. And then there's a situation where he needs a little bit of help, and he decides, you know what? Let me get close to my old friend Steph Curry, but we're also there's now a false pretense of situations going on here. And Steph is being a kind-hearted, friend because he thinks that there's one situation going on when it's really another situation.
It's like Fred Claus. You ever watch that movie?
It's just like Fred Claus.
Yeah. I've gotten a bit of an update here. It looks like a cliff to me. If everybody can check their phone, Taylor just sent us a picture of what it looks like.
Well, let's do this. Can we get it? I know we only have a little bit of time left, but Louis, can we get this?
And why did he send it to us?
He should have sent it to video team.
Isn't that his job?
Also, very carefully crop out the address that's visible in this picture.
Not a cliff, by the way.
There's rocks.
A cliff-like setting is what he said.
There's multiple layers of this cliff.
Dude, this is not what I had in mind.
Nice house.
Nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
Yeah, he lives on a hill. I literally thought it was like high above the roadway.
Nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
This is not a cliff.
Cliff-like setting.
Nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
It covers him there, setting.
Yeah, this is a hill.
This is a hill. It's just
If you fall off the side of a hill that doesn't have the ramp, that's a cliff, right?
Nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
Is that a bluff?
To call this a cliff is like calling any stairway a cliff. Right? It's just stairs.
Nobody lives on a cliff. You live on a hill.
It's giant stairs, but it's stairs nonetheless.
Cliff Floyd.
Howdy, listeners. It's Mike Ryan. The Dan Le Batard Show started September 1st, 2004. It's a long time ago. 20 years, in fact. A lot has changed over that 20 years. But for most of that 20 years, we've had Miller Lite on board as a proud partner. And even though, like I said, so much has changed, our show has changed, where we've been, where we air, our priorities, they've all changed. One thing that hasn't? The dependable taste of Miller Lite. What's the best thing about the original light beer? Miller Lite sparked this debate way back in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. For me, it's undebatable. The quality. Great taste. Only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. You don't have to choose what you like best about Miller Lite. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.